are involved in small micro businesses, but we are moving stuff that we are importing from China and Turkey. Much better if we could have more people in retail selling and pushing what we are producing locally. So it is a catalyst for other forms of business like services and retailing. And also, manufacturing grows the economy. If we are busy buying stuff from China and selling it, we are not necessarily growing our economies. But when we
Yeah.
manufacture and consume what we are making locally, we are growing our economies. And as the economies grow, the GDP grows, tax revenues collected by the government also grows, and they're able to
Yeah.
give us the services we need, like clinics, roads, and stuff like that. So you realize that manufacturing has got many, many benefits that translate into better quality of life for us African here as Africans here at home in Africa.
Yeah.
So if I'm just to recap them, manufacturing grows the economy, manufacturing creates millionaires, manufacturing grows the economy from low income to middle and higher income. Manufacturing
Mm.
creates wealth and it creates jobs, and manufacturing is a catalyst for other forms of business in the economy, like retail and services. So manufacturing is very, very needful. It is the starting point of growing our economies. And we've been missing on that because our economies are documented to be under industrialized. So if we can get that one right, really, it will put us on the right path to a better economy and better Africa. Yeah, that's it.
So, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. The benefits of manufacturing, and we need to start there. The economy cannot grow without manufacturing. Importing stuff and selling and moving it around, it is just changing hands, and we're just moving money from one pocket to another, but we are not necessarily growing our economies without a strong manufacturing base. Every
Yeah.
economy needs a strong manufacturing base.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So now, looking at Africa as a continent, we find that many people are in the category of struggling economies. And I just wanted to know, isn't it expensive starting up a manufacturing enterprise?
I think we're breaking up. I missed the question. Can you repeat the question, please?
I was saying, as you can see in Africa, most people are from the struggling economies, and isn't setting up a manufacturing industry, as the one you've just talked about, expensive for maybe for the struggling Africans? What do you have to say about that?
Actually, we're struggling. Most of our economies are underperforming and are struggling because of under industrialization.
Yeah.
Industrialization is the very thing that we need
Mhm.
to grow our economies and take them from struggling economies into growing economies. And often when we talk about manufacturing, people think of very big firms, like we have to
Yeah.
set up big infrastructure and attract big firms from abroad to come and set up firms here, but not necessarily. Like I said
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning, that after Second World War, the economy of
Yeah.
Germany was decimated. They
Mm-hmm.
rebuilt the economy through manufacturing. and they discourage monopolies and oligopolies. They discourage big businesses because what big businesses do, they will come and set up a plant and they will create employment. But that employment is not going to be enough to employ everybody. There will always be a section of the economy that is not that is not employed. They discourage that because they wanted to distribute the benefits of manufacturing to local people. So when we think of manufacturing, we should not necessarily think of a big firm that needs a
Mm-hmm.
lot of money and we have to call in a big firm from somewhere to a multinational to come and set up a factory here in Africa.
Mm.
We have the ability. If you go
Yeah.
on internet, particularly Alibaba, because like I have where small manufacturing people who manufacture machines, they enlist their machinery. China is making small machinery, and if you look at the prices, they are not very expensive. So it really makes it affordable for us to start small, to start
Yeah.
manufacturing. You may not start big, you may not start with a long list of products. You may start with making peanut butter or mayonnaise, or making peanut butter, mayonnaise, and jam. Not very big, but it is doable. The machinery that China is
Yeah.
making and selling is not very expensive. And quite frankly, some of the people, they have that money already. Like if machinery is like $2,000, you could find that many people have that money already in their pockets. But because we think that manufacturing is out of reach for us,
Mm-hmm.
we don't think of that. Or maybe two, three people can come together, pull their resources together, buy that machinery, and with time expand the business. But with partnerships, I would say we don't need too many people in a partnership, because once we have too many
Yeah.
people, that tends to dilute the profits, and then the people don't see, and then they become discouraged. Maybe two, three, and with time you can continue with a partnership, or dissolve it, or buy bigger machinery so that you make more profit. But in short, I would like to say, especially our struggling economies, they are the ones that actually
Yeah.
need manufacturing. And manufacturing does not necessarily have to be very expensive. It is not necessarily out of our reach, out of our pockets.
Yeah.
Many have that money in their pockets, and they can start small and make money and expand, or buy big machinery, or expand into other forms of businesses, other forms of products, and grow from there.
Yeah.
It is doable. We can quite doable. And looking at the example of Germany, they did that, and within 10 years, their economy
Yeah.
was functional. We can take our economy from struggling economies to a point where they are functional, and primarily that done by entrepreneurs. It's doable. It's very, very doable. It is just a matter of how we look at it. We've come to expect big businesses to take us from where we are, but we have the ability. We can start small and grow over time. We can do it ourselves. We can grow from a struggling
So just
economy into a
yeah.
thriving economy. Mm,
So just to follow up on that,
yeah.
majority
Mm,
of people, as we have said, in Africa are from the struggling economies, and we keep on telling them that it's doable. And maybe for the people in the villages, maybe they don't know how to do it. So what would you tell them the steps they should take so that they can grow maybe from a small point and then move forward and then maybe grow to the manufacturing enterprises? What would you tell them to do?
yeah, especially our villages. That is where we find that there is a rampant lack of jobs. As a
Yeah,
result, you find that people all over Africa, we
yeah,
emigrate, or we go to bigger cities, because most businesses and manufacturing businesses are centered in the city. And it is because also of infrastructure. Sorry. infrastructure like electricity. But I would say in a village, we can
Mm-hmm.
strengthen our villages. We can strengthen and create jobs in our villages. Like I said,
Yeah.
we start small, do something that the village needs. Maybe it's peanut butter, maybe it's soap, maybe it's detergent for washing our clothes or whatever. Start
Yeah.
with that, supply the entire village. And what is
Mm-hmm.
best is not to replicate the same kind of business, because now the minute we replicate the same thing, you find that there are
Yeah.
too many players who are doing the same thing, then and therefore we dilute the profits. If one is making peanut butter, let another one make detergent, and let another one make something else that is needed in the maybe exercise books or pens or school
Yeah.
bags or shoes that is needed in the in our locality, and then grow that business to supply more than just one village, maybe then several villages. And I know that infrastructure
Yeah.
will always be a problem, especially electricity in rural areas. You find that there is not
Yeah.
electricity, but there are other forms. Nowadays we have other forms. I know it will be difficult, it will be a little bit expensive, but we can use a generator, might be a little bit more expensive because you're burning up diesel, or you can use solar panels. And there are people like Africa Tech Solutions that provide solar generated electricity to rural areas. It might be difficult, but let us
Yeah.
not let the impediments stop us from taking an action. Because if we don't take an action, nothing changes. Let us take an
Mm-hmm.
action. An entrepreneur always takes action, even if it is difficult. But those smaller steps, they are getting us somewhere. And you find
Somewhere.
that you start small, and with time you are able to supply the whole villages or 5 villages or 10 villages, and we
Yeah.
create employment in our local villages. So it seems like the answer, because we don't have a lot of money in Africa, the answer always lies in start small but with a big vision. Have a bigger vision. Start where you are with what you are
Yeah.
able, and whatever profits you make, plow them back into the business so that you expand the business. Start small with a bigger business and grow into something bigger. But those smaller steps, they are taking you
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, and they're putting money in your pocket, and you are able to grow, and you are also creating jobs for other people in
Other
the
people.
village.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Well said. So the next question, can the general populace achieve some major strides towards economic growth and job creation without much involvement from the government?
I believe we can.
Did you
If
get
you
my
look
question?
at the,
Yeah.
yes, I did. If you look at the
Mm-hmm.
the ideal situation of countries that have developed, it was a partnership between the government and the population. The government provided
Yeah.
infrastructure like electricity, roads, telecommunications, and stuff like that. But that is, and
Yeah.
maybe also support in forms in terms of funding, startup funding, and also training, giving entrepreneurship skills to the people. But I want to say that with little involvement of the government, because we know our situation in Africa, we can
Yeah.
still do it with little involvement of the government. Because when it comes to entrepreneurial training, to be quite honest, the government may give us training, but first and foremost, my development is my own responsibility. It is not the responsibility of the government. They may help. I may read books, and there are free books online, ebooks. I may read books on entrepreneurship and development and develop myself instead of
Yeah.
looking and waiting for the government. When it comes to capital to start, we've already addressed it that 2, 3 people can pool their resources together and start a partnership.
Yeah.
And when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure, I think we also touch on it that where there is insufficient infrastructure, like in rural areas, there are other forms of infrastructure. If not electricity generated and provided by the government, we can get generators. It's a little bit more expensive, but it gets the job done. Or we can get solar panels. Also, we
Mm-hmm.
might need more because the power generated by solar panels may not be strong. It might be a little expensive, but this goes to show that even with little involvement from the government, the general
Mm-hmm.
population, if we have the drive and the will, we can do it. We should not just sit back and say there are no roads. I know it is
Yeah.
difficult. Like if you have to transport your goods and the roads are bad, it is a difficult thing. But let not that stop us. And I want to say that in each and every African economy, we
Yeah.
have successful business people, and we all know those successful business people, and
Yeah.
they operate in the same difficulties that other people
Yeah.
complained about. So instead of seeing the difficulties and the impediments, let us see beyond. That is why we said, let us have bigger vision. Let that bigger vision drive us to overcome those difficulties and take encouragement and inspiration from successful business people to say that they made it under the same difficult conditions. So let's take
Yeah.
inspiration from them to say, yes, we can. So, in a nutshell, I want to say there's a lot that we can do, even with little support and little involvement from the government. There's a lot that we can do. But for that to be
Mm-hmm.
seen, it needs more of us. If 10 people are trying to do business or 100 people are trying to do business, the impact is not felt. But if 500,000 people are trying to do business, their collective impact makes a huge difference in terms of creating employment, in terms of creating wealth in the economy, and giving opportunities to other forms of business. So we need more people. I've lost it. We need more people to get involved. Mm, Seem to have lost connection.
Yeah. Sorry, I lost you for a moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
So,
saying we need more people to make a huge impact.
just to follow up on that, what is the role of leadership now in economic development?
The role of leadership is the traditional one, that
Yeah.
they play a supporting role. They do
Mm-hmm.
not start the businesses themselves. They provide us with roads, with electricity,
Mm-hmm.
with training, with capital to start and stuff like that. But the government necessarily does not start. They have a role, and that is their role, but
Yeah.
it has always been the people, the private sector, that started
Mm-hmm.
businesses and that created jobs. Yeah, the
Yeah.
role of leadership is more of a supportive role in providing the what is needed, creating an environment that is
Mm-hmm.
conducive to growing the economy. But like we said, in the absence of active involvement by leadership, things are
Yeah.
still very much doable. Things are
Yeah.
still very much doable. They are necessary. They provide, they create the environment. They have that role, but even that role that they play, if you look back, you realize that things always start with entrepreneurship. Because
Yeah.
for them to provide the roads and infrastructure, they need money. They
Mm-hmm.
cannot just do those things with the loans. But when
Yeah.
there is entrepreneurship, and
Mm-hmm.
we create enterprises and we employ people, our enterprises and our employees, they pay taxes. The tax revenues created and collected by the government goes up. Then they are able to do more. They are able to provide roads. They are able to provide capital for startup and all that. So it's a cycle, and you realize the importance of of entrepreneurship in all
Yeah.
of that. They do have a role to play. It is a supportive role, yeah, a supportive role, building an environment. They do have a role to play.
Okay. So on to my next question. How can enterprises flourish in the absence of factory production, space, lack of roads, and inconsistent electricity? Do I repeat?
I think I got it. Yeah, how can
Okay.
enterprises grow in the absence of these things?
Yeah.
We said it that it is difficult to grow a business without electricity. Say,
Yeah.
for instance, your machinery or most of machinery, they need electricity.
Yeah.
In the cities, we have electricity, and in some places, like even in my country, we have what we call load shedding, where for some hours we do not have electricity. It is difficult, but let us not let the difficult things stop us. It is
Mm-hmm.
difficult, but there are alternatives. If there is no electricity, or if the electricity is cut off, it obviously would affect productivity, production. If I'm able to make 100 shoes per day, and then for 2 hours I'm without electricity, I'm probably down from 100 pairs of shoes to 80. It affects productivity, it affects how much I produce. But it is better to do something with little than sit back and not do anything. And also, there are other forms of infrastructure that we can do, like generators, like we said, and also solar panels or wind generated electricity. It is difficult, it affects productivity, but let it not stop us. We cannot
Yeah.
sit back and not do anything. It is better to have a business that is growing at a slower pace than not to start at all. Because if we start, say we have 500, half a million or a million businesses, more businesses that start in even with little infrastructure, they are better than no businesses at all, because we are
Yeah.
we are citing the lack of infrastructure. It is a
Mm-hmm.
problem, but let it not stop us. Smaller strides, they are better than nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Yeah. And now, will small manufacturing really make a convincing difference in the economy and unemployment rates of a country?
I really do believe that as long as our small manufacturing goes beyond one man operation. Say I
Yeah.
start a business, I make soy makeup and facial moisturizers for
Yeah.
ladies. I'm obviously going to need somebody that is going to help me, and somebody who's going to help me pack, and then I'm going to need containers. So it gives rise to other forms of business. But I want to say, if all of us we start these different kinds of businesses, I
Mm-hmm.
employ 3 people. If a million of us start these businesses, these small businesses, and
Yeah.
on average we employ 3 people, and me as the owner, I'm the fourth person, soon you
Mm-hmm.
find that 4 million people are employed. I think in
Yeah.
any economy, say in a
Mm-hmm.
population of 30 million people, if 4 million people are employed, it really makes a difference. And if
Mm-hmm.
these 4 million people take care of 3 other people, 4 people live on a salary of one person. Soon you find that
Yeah.
16 million people have a livelihood. and their lives are no longer below the breadline but are operating above the breadline. It can. When I start a business, it may seem like my one business does not make a difference. Me and my three people, it looks like it's just a teaspoon in an ocean. But the
Yeah.
more, the better. When a million of us start these businesses, then you begin to see the impact of this. And even in terms of growing the economy, because say,
Mhm.
for instance, a million of us start these businesses, and I make sales of, on average, we make sales of 1 million per year. It's not a lot because if you divide 1 million by 12, it's even less than 100,000. But you
Yeah.
realize that if we 1 million start uh, businesses and they make 1 billion, that is what, 1 trillion. It makes a difference
Easy.
in the economy.
Yeah.
And small businesses have a huge role to play. Even the International Labor Organization confirms that all around the world, 90% of businesses, they are small and medium enterprises. And in
Mhm.
some cases, they employ up to 70% of the workforce that is employed in a country. They
Yeah.
play a role, but their role is felt collectively when more of us get into business and start these
Yeah.
small businesses. They really do. They make a huge difference.
Okay. So, how can
Mm.
how can aspiring entrepreneurs get technical information on production knowledge?
Um, some of the things that we talk about, you find that
Yeah.
the knowledge, technical knowledge, is not very complicated. And it's
Mhm.
stuff that they never taught us at school. Like I used to make soap. Nobody taught me how to make soap. I went online, I Googled it and how to make soap. And then I played YouTube videos. I watched
Mhm.
YouTube videos how to make soap. Most of this knowledge is already available, and the technical knowledge is not very complicated. So you just go online and you Google how to the information how to make these things, and then you Google, say for instance, like when I'm making soap, I will need sodium hydroxide. Then I
Yeah.
Google who are the suppliers of sodium hydroxide, where to
Mhm.
buy it, so that I know the suppliers. And it's always good to have more than one supplier, so that if
Yeah.
one does not have stock or is more expensive, you can always have a backup. Then you Google where to buy these things and how much they are, and you put all that information together so that you know how much it's going to cost you. And also, it was not
Mhm.
only sodium hydroxide, then it was the oils. Google where to get the oils that are needed and the butters that are needed. And
Yeah.
I want to give, even with something that we think is complicated, I have a
Mhm.
nephew, a 15-year-old nephew. He also Googled
Yeah.
how to put a computer together, a PC together. And then he
Yeah.
watched YouTube videos how these things are done. And then he asked my brother, his dad, to buy him different parts. And then he
Mhm.
put them together. Then they took that machine, the PC, to the store, and they installed the software that runs it, the operating system. He is using his own PC that he used. So you realize that there are many opportunities, and we can do these things in Africa. Even
Yeah.
if we, when it comes to technology like PCs,
Mhm.
cell phones that we are using, and tablets, people, and I would want to say, even if they are not electrical engineers, but particularly in electrical engineers, because they understand these things, we can start with assembling these things. Like buy the parts
Yeah.
from China, and somebody can start a wholesale business where he goes online to see what is needed, and then he starts a wholesale and buy these things from China so that they are available locally. And then somebody buys them and assembles them, and we have them locally, and we can make a lot of money. Number one, we can create wealth, we can create job, and that person can make a lot of money. Imagine in a country of Kenya with 53 million people, if you assemble
Yeah.
cell phones and you just sell 1 million and you make a profit of what 7.7 shillings or 770 shillings per cell phone, you make
Yeah.
70 million in a year. These are the opportunities that our minds are playing games with us. We think they're expensive and they're difficult, but really the information is there. And I want to say, if my 15-year-old nephew can do that, an
Yeah.
electrical engineer who understands these things better can do that. And these are the opportunities that we are foregoing. We import cell phones that are already, but I know there's a company, I don't know whether it's owned by the government or what, but I know there's a company in Kenya that is now going into assembling cell phones. But all
Yeah.
over Africa, because we are not
Mm-hmm.
talking specific country, we are talking sub-Saharan economies. I mean,
Yeah.
1.4 billion of us. We need more of such that can assemble. So I would like to say the information is readily available. Instead of
Yeah.
just going online, sharing jokes and that. I know it's good to laugh, it's good for our health. They say
Yeah.
laughter is the best medicine. But the information, sometimes let us go. Think of what you want to do. Go
Yeah.
online, Google how to do it, and then watch the videos. The information is available, and the nice thing, it is free. We don't necessarily have to go buy books or go to school, especially with simple things. Like if you want to buy school uniform, there are many people who know already, who are seamstress and even know how to make clothes. So we just have to think
Mm-hmm.
like entrepreneurs, use the skills that we have
Yeah.
and use them to generate income for ourselves. And some of these things like making mayonnaise, also you go online. I went online to see how do you make mayonnaise. Such a simple thing. You
Yeah.
just have to buy a big a blender. You just mix oil with eggs and a little bit of salt and maybe either vinegar or lemon juice, and you may add a little mustard sauce. Simple, and it does not need a lot of education. Does not It's simple. We can do it. We
Yeah.
can make salad dressings. We can make jams. Also, information how to make jam is readily available. We
Mm-hmm.
can juice, and we've got a lot of fruits in Africa. We can juice, and that one does not even need anything. You just buy the machine, you wash the fruits, or maybe
The,
cut them and put them in
yeah.
the machine, and you juice it, and you put them in bottles, and that it. Perhaps you might add a little um, preservative
Mm-hmm.
to prolong the shelf life. And then what you need to do is to Google what are those preservatives, what are the side effects, how much of a preservative to use, because you don't need to use a lot. I think it's between 3 and 6% of a preservative, just where to get it and add it to the bottle and improve the shelf life and sell it. Some of these things, the information, the technical knowledge is not difficult, not complicated at all. It is things that we can do, like making pasta. It's very simple to make pasta. You just take flour and mix it with eggs. That's it. And then you shape it. You just get a machine that will shape it, either spaghetti or different shapes of noodles. Very, very simple to make these things.
And I
And the
liked how you say
information,
this in your book, that we don't have to export our products, say like tomatoes, and then have them processed as tomato paste and then have them exported back. I liked that concept as well. So maybe let us also take initiative and instead of relying on the other countries, do it ourselves.
definitely, that is the
Yeah.
gist of my message, especially
Yeah.
the things that we eat. No one should feed us. They say
Mm.
that he who feeds you will control you. And you know
Yeah.
what is happening? We export our raw tomatoes to them. they make tomato paste and they sell it back to us. That is
Yeah.
why their economies are so big, because they are
Mm-hmm.
producing. And like we said, manufacturing creates wealth. They
Yeah.
are creating wealth and we are not. They have
Mm-hmm.
jobs and we don't have enough jobs. They are creating jobs. And then the next thing, we pack our bags and go to them to get jobs
Yeah.
from them. And what do we do when we get there? We make tomato paste. We could have stayed home.
Yeah.
We could have kept our tomatoes. We could have produced that
And
thing here. We could have
yeah.
grown our economies. Yeah, that is the gist of my of my message to our
Yeah.
people, to all our African economies. Let us feed ourselves. Let us produce here. Let us add value to our minerals, add value to our agricultural products. Let us produce what we eat. Let no one should feed us
Yeah.
the hams, the fufus that we eat and everything. Let us make those things here, but just improve the methods, because sometimes you find that we're using old methods, and with the new machinery, productivity goes up. And when productivity goes up, we produce more. And when we produce
Yeah.
more, that is when also we produce more wealth. And also, I would say with our agriculture also, we need to improve our agricultural machinery. And also, China is making small implements, small agricultural implements. I've seen a
Yeah.
small tractor and small manufactured, small agricultural implements. They are going to improve our agricultural output. Our
Yeah.
farmers will make more. And there's an article, a scholarly article I was reading. They say, if we
Mm-hmm.
can improve our farming methods,
Yeah.
farming alone has a potential to raise 110 million people out of abject poverty. We
Mm-hmm.
can do it. We can raise ourselves out of poverty. We need to improve our machinery. We need to improve our agricultural production, and we need
Yeah.
to produce what we that products that come from our farmers. We need to process them ourselves instead of taking them and selling them to somebody. We need to process them ourselves, position ourselves to process our own things, and we will create jobs for ourselves, and we will create wealth, and we will lift ourselves out of struggling economies into growing economies.
Okay.
Mm.
So, how can people access startup capital? I know many people would like to know this. So, how can people access startup capital?
That is one of the things that is keeping us back also in Africa.
Yeah.
But I think
Mm-hmm.
we touched briefly before that some of the people, they already have this money. Like the machinery is not expensive, just
Mm-hmm.
that we may not be aware of the cost, or we think it's expensive. Or if you want a bigger one, people can
Mm-hmm.
come together and form small partnerships.
Yeah.
They can maybe two, three bring their resources together and buy the machinery, and then grow their businesses from there. And maybe later on, then they can dissolve the partnerships when they're able to be on their own and they do different things. But also, I
Yeah.
saw this need that because capital is our one of the impediments that is affecting entrepreneurship. It's for
Mm-hmm.
this reason that I registered the NPO. I call it Africa Accelerated Economic Development, where I want to take um, some of our people who are already involved in entrepreneurship, but at a micro level, like
Yeah.
street vendors, train
Mm-hmm.
them in entrepreneurship, give them entrepreneurial skills, and then they write business plans. And then maybe we refine those business plans, and we
Mm-hmm.
take those business plans and we link them up with people with established businesses. They could be
Yeah.
from anywhere in Africa or the African diaspora, or even
Mm-hmm.
people maybe from Britain or wherever. And then they will invest their money as partners in the partnership, in the business idea of a local person. They become partners, but then we also require the investor because they are established in business and they know business principles. We
Yeah.
also require them to become mentors because it's very difficult for a business to grow without mentorship. But
Yeah.
at the same time, we tell our people that your development is first and foremost your responsibility. So we will
Yeah.
give them information. We will provide them with free books that are available that they can read. And if you just read 10 pages every day, what you need is consistency and discipline. But if you just read 10 pages every day, at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the year, you shall have read 3,600 pages. And if a book length is about 360, you have read 10 books on business, on entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You are an equivalent of someone with a certificate or a diploma in business. So it's important that our people read on their own to develop themselves, but at the same time having mentors, because even knowledge without experience is just knowledge, but you need mentors. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in a nutshell, that's it. How to access funds? We have an NPO. We want to bring people together. People can
Yeah.
come together, pool their resources together. And some of the people that already have money, just that they thought that it was expensive, or they thought
Mm-hmm.
that the technical knowledge is too complicated. Some people can start on their own, and others can form partnership, and then you want to come and take the ones that may not have the money and then link them up with investors, and investors will also be their mentors, business mentors.
And so, as we are concluding, what message would you like your readers to get from your book?
The essence of the message is that I want
Mm-hmm.
people to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. For some reason, we sat back and we expected the government to do everything. And
Yeah.
you hear it, people complaining, saying the government is not doing enough to create jobs. I want
Yeah.
people to realize that it is not just the government.
Mm-hmm.
We have a part to play in the economic development of our countries. I
Mm-hmm.
want people to realize that they have the potential to make a difference.
Yeah.
Whereas you might not have thought of yourself as somebody who's making a difference, I want people to realize that you have the capacity, the capability to make a difference. Your small business, your one
Yeah.
business of employing 4 people, it makes a difference. You may not see it, but when a
Yeah.
million of us start those businesses, we make a difference that can be felt. So the essence of the message is, let us change our mindset about ourselves. Let us
Yeah.
believe in ourselves. We have the power, we have the capability. What we do makes a difference. Let's not
Yeah.
look down on what we do. It makes a difference. And we have a role to play in partnership with the government to make a difference in our African countries and on the continent as a whole.
Okay. So, just to remind the viewers, what is the name of your book and where can they find it?
The name of the book is Building the Africa That We Want, with
Mm-hmm.
55 Thriving Economies. That is the name of it. It is an ebook. It is available online. You just download it. Most people
Mm-hmm.
have cell phones and tablets. It is from Smashwords. I think you will put the link on the video so that they can just click on the link. It is only $5 and available online.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have come to the end of the interview. If there's anything else you'd like to say, where people can find you on social media, yeah, you can say that as well.
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel that we have just started. not really just. I think we started in May or so, but it's still
Yeah,
growing. We talk about the work of the NPO, the opportunities that are
yeah,
available in each and every African country because Africa is big. So they can just go to at AAED-NPO. That stands
yeah,
for Africa Accelerated Economic Development at AAED-NPO. That's where we talk
yeah,
about these opportunities because I think it's also important to, when you tell people that there are opportunities in Africa, it's
yeah,
important that the people, you make them available to the people know exactly what those opportunities are and they can
yeah,
choose their own. Yeah, that is our YouTube channel. I think you'll also put it in the link,
yeah,
YouTube channel. We haven't done all of our countries. We're going through them country by country, but that is where they can find us online.
okay. It's always a pleasure having you. Thank you. Until next time.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate the exposure, the interviews. You
Yeah,
hosting me. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Mm,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.
Yeah,
And bye to our viewers.
yeah.